Big it up, big it up. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Casual Wrestling Community Show, the single greatest casual wrestling show on the internet. I am your host, the Notorious Nerdy D, and joining me on the ones and twos, working the mics and cameras, your Notorious Pay-Per-View Champion. Level up, Lauren.
What's up, y'all?
Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast network, we have an amazing show for you tonight. Tonight, we'll be discussing the next big names to jump companies in pro wrestling, the parts of the wrestling business we hate the most, and giving you the best wrestler born every year since 1985, the great year that I was born. But before all that, we have a few thoughts on this week's past wrestling, jumping right in, right off the bat. Lauren, was it really necessary for Randy Orton to fucking RKO every heel on the Monday Night Raw roster?
No.
Look, okay, so it was a fun opening to Monday Night Raw. We got to see everybody. It was Randy Orton Appreciation Night. Randy Orton comes to the ring. We're celebrating him. We got to see a little bit of Ezekiel. We got to see a little Kevin Owens. We got to see Seth Rollins do what Seth Rollins does. And it was a good opening that led us to a 8-man tag match. Something that I feel like we haven't seen in a while in the main event picture of Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. So that, I'm all good with that, right? And just kind of speaking on the guys that were in the match, I still don't know where I stand on Ezekiel yet.
I like him.
Do you, though? Or do you like the position
gimmick
that he's put in? Because right now, it still feels like, to me, Kevin Owens is pushing the Ezekiel narrative and elevating it to a level that makes it worthy of the main event. Is Ezekiel a main event talent if he's not in the ring with Kevin Owens?
No.
But that's a problem then, right? Because they're pushing him as main event. He was in the main event of Monday Night Raw, which is a good push for him. And hopefully it gets there. But just eye test watching Ezekiel wrestle, he's slow moving to me. He is a bigger guy. But he doesn't feel like he's quite at the level of those other big names that were in the ring. Just notes on Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes just looks fucking happy to be in WWE.
Yeah.
It just, like, the more I go back and think about the last few times I saw him in AEW, he looked displaced. And I kept doing the thing like Cody Rhodes needs to turn heel. The crowd has turned on Cody Rhodes. And I think that, he kind of found his place back in WWE. I think he likes being a baby face. Yeah. It's what Cody likes. Mm-hmm. So let's let Cody be Cody. Cody's doing his thing. He seems to be happy, and that's kind of a good thing to see. Let's talk about the finish of that 8-man tag team match. Because the entire time I'm sitting there and I'm talking about, like, how are they going to finish this? Who's going to get the pin? Is it Kevin Owens going to pin Ezekiel? I thought no way, shape, or form, even though it's Randy Orton Appreciation Night, I thought there was no way Randy Orton gets the finish, right? And we get the goofiest possible finish ever, right? I hate finishes to matches that are the fucking everybody gets a turn, or we're going to hit our finisher on every person and it's super choreographed. And like the RKO is one of those moves that it happens out of nowhere.
It's like a one and done.
Yeah, it happens out of nowhere. It tends to finish the guy off. It's a big moment. And what we got in this match was predictable RKOs to every guy. The last one being the worst. I don't know if it was Jimmy or Jay coming off the ropes, but just diving with your head forward so that he can RKO you. I thought that was a goofy finish to what was a pretty good match.
Yeah.
And a pretty exciting, Monday Night Raw is in this weird flux right now. Without a major title, they got to do these kind of goofy, gimmicky things like 8-man tag matches, or make it just like it's all about the Usos and RK Bro, which I'm fine. Like, let's make the tag team titles mean something. But that finish just felt, and the more I watch this, Lauren, the more I watch this is all perfect for the Usos, right? Because this is 3 weeks in a row now that RK Bro have gotten the upper hand.
Yeah.
And typically the way WWE books is whoever goes into the pay-per-view with the upper hand, they're not coming out with the upper hand. So it looks like the days are numbered for RK Bro.
No.
It looks like the Usos are probably going to walk out of WrestleMania Backlash with the Tag Team Unified Championships. I hate the name WrestleMania Backlash. They used to call this pay-per-view Backlash, and they've thrown in the branding and they've thrown in the logo of WrestleMania, and I don't like it. I'll tell you why. Because WrestleMania felt like a high of high, right? It's the pinnacle of the wrestling season per se. If there's a wrestling season, WrestleMania is the Super Bowl, and it's the only sport in the world where then the season just starts again, right? And the first game of the season isn't called like the Super Bowl Backlash. And so to me, it diminishes this pay-per-view, because this pay-per-view, as you start to see it kind of play out and we see the matches come together, this isn't WrestleMania, right? Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, that's not WrestleMania.
No.
But that's okay. You have to have the highest of highs to have the lows of lows to get that emotional investment into WrestleMania. But let's just call this Backlash. Let's not use all the same branding. All the same, it's not in Dallas again.
True.
So what's with the big star and shit like that? Like, we all understand, we're able to comprehend that coming out of WrestleMania, this is the Backlash. You don't need to call it WrestleMania Backlash. It feels lazy. It feels like lazy marketing. Like, I don't love using the same logo over. I don't like it. Backlash should be its own thing. It should have its own logo. And even the way like the Backlash sits under the logo doesn't even look like perfectly. I'm a graphics guy. I'm big on graphics. It doesn't look right. I don't like the way that looks.
All right.
Moving on. What is next for Bianca Belair after she basically smashed Sonya Deville 3 times in a row?
Okay.
I mean, she whooped her ass 3 times in a row, which in I did too. One of the best booked matches I've seen in a long time that made use of like a little bit of comic relief, a little bit of abuse of authority, and just like not what you expected. I said when she got counted out, I go real quickly, I said, what if she restarts the match?
You did say that.
And then she restarted the match, and I said, oh, no. What if she does this again?
Yeah.
And she did it again. I thought, oh, fuck, this is great. They're booking this great. So where does that lead us, though, with Bianca Belair? I don't think this is over. I think this is actually far from over. I think, and I like this. I like what they're doing with Sonya Deville. Like, I want to see more of Bianca Belair and Sonya Deville. Now that Becky Lynch is tied up in another storyline, this opens the way for Bianca Belair to get in some other matches with other people. And I think Sonya Deville is the ultimate heel for Bianca Belair. And I think this can lead to Sonya Deville getting out of that management position. I think, like we've kept saying, like she's flirting. This is the story they were trying to tell with Naomi, but it didn't make sense because Naomi didn't have a title. So why was Sonya Deville picking on Naomi?
True.
It makes more sense because Bianca Belair has a title. So that makes sense why Sonya Deville would be picking on Bianca Belair. Did you know, like, I didn't realize this. And I was watching Pat McAfee and I saw this and I remember hearing about this, but this was kind of in the period of time where I wasn't watching wrestling. Did you know Sonya Deville, someone broke into her house, zip tied her, and they had plans to kill her.
No, what the fuck?
So yeah, she woke up 2020, August of 2020. I guess she lived with Mandy Rose. They lived in the same house.
Yeah.
I believe. I'm going off of a news report I watched. I heard some of it on Pat McAfee, and then I watched a news report on it that I remember hearing about this, but not placing that it was Sonya Deville.
Okay.
So someone like a stalker broke into the house, had zip ties and all this equipment, and was going to kill her.
But what happened?
She got away.
How?
Obviously. I don't remember. Maybe the dog or something. She got away. Somehow she got out, got away, got free of the thing. They arrested the guy. He admitted to my plan was to kill her.
Oh
and then later on, she went on to like Instagram and found where she had hundreds of messages from this guy.
Oh shit. Cause like he had never answered. She never answered him back.
I guess, I mean, I'm sure some of them get sent into like a side folder, like a spam folder. And then all of a sudden you go pull it up and you're like, holy shit, this has been happening. But that's fucking scary, right? Like that's wild. That's
crazy that people can like get that sort of access to them.
Fucking internet, man.
You know
the internet is ridiculous.
Just
and that's
and know where you at.
and then, so like I guess I didn't realize and this is pure assumption, is maybe that's why she isn't like 100% wrestling. She went through all this shit and she had to kind of get into the business. I also saw that she said she loves acting and she has a big background in acting. So you should watch the interview. Real good interview with her and Pat McAfee.
Oh, she was on Pat Mac?
She was awesome.
Oh, fuck yeah. You know I like to do that.
So she said that filled kind of the acting side was being the general manager because she gets to be on the microphone every week.
Yeah.
But it also filled the wrestling side because she does get to be a part-time performer.
Yeah.
So
which is probably kind of fun. Like you get the best of both worlds. Why not? Right?
Yeah, oh, definitely. But I
like her as a manager.
That was fucking wild to me.
That's real fun. I'm like kind of still a little bit in shock.
Yeah, like that was crazy. It's like what was the Kim Kardashian got like tied up and put in the bathtub and shit like that. Like it's wild, that stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna play the conspiracy game. I don't know if she did or didn't. Allegedly shit happens, but like, that's fucking
but no,
scary.
I think the Sonya Deville shit is probably real. Like I'm for sure it's real, but
to me, that's weird. And this is kind of a side tangent, but like, I don't understand the female point of view on these things. I don't walk around in fear of like people being able to do that kind of thing to me. And I guess from a female's perspective, like you have to always have a certain amount of fear that like,
well, yeah, I mean,
you're
guess
in
that
danger.
I mean, I think I just don't think that because like if not, I'd probably just be like, what's that? I mean, I don't like the dark period, so I don't want to go outside in the dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy.
All right, so moving on. We're getting...
shit just got dark.
Yeah, it did get dark, right? Speaking of dark here,
all right.
It looks like we're getting a Finn Balor, Damian Priest sequel. So who's excited for a Finn Balor and Damian Priest sequel that doesn't feature the United States title? Like, it's weird, right? We go through all this stuff, and I get it. We were in a roundabout way working a way to get Theory a belt and elevate him, but it's like we've worked our way back to a feud that's Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Don't know if you caught it on Monday Night Raw. Edge and Damian Priest claimed something about The Undertaker, that they're better or bigger or more important than The Undertaker. Weird thing to throw in there is does The Undertaker have ties to this group? Is there a chance that The Undertaker could be in some form or fashion a part of this thing with Edge? Like, how big would that fucking be if it's revealed behind the scenes that like Undertaker is a part of this thing and still a part of WWE? That's wild to me that that's even a possibility.
I mean, he alluded to something,
right? Notes on, I thought their entrance was weird. That platform that so the new WWE stage, while I love the giant screen, and I get for like setup purposes, it's probably so much easier than the old like raised up stage with all these different lights and screens. It doesn't lend itself to really unique entrances. Used to guys could, like Cody Rhodes could come up from the bottom of the stage, or Edge could come. Like now we're resorting to like guys on a platform, and I just imagine in my head there's a guy on the other side of that thing with a rope, and he's pulling them out to the ring.
Are you sure it's not like remote controlled, like like an RC car? Like
I don't know. It just feels like it's just simple to like have a guy in the front just like going like.
Yeah, well, I just imagine
like
that like secretly when you're there, you just hear like. As the car's going.
This Edge and Finn Balor thing is interesting. They really love that purple black light thing. Like they're shining it on their faces every fucking chance it feels to me, and I told you this, like WWE went to some kind of technology convention and like a guy was like, I've got something to fucking show you, Vince.
I liked Damien's medieval like prostitute type
what?
Thing he had on. He looked like he was like a medieval like
corset on or something?
Corset, yes.
Oh, that's weird. I don't think I noticed that. The only cool thing I think that's going to come out of this is hopefully, we get a tag team match between AJ Styles and Finn Balor versus Edge and Damian Priest. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Other than that, it seems like a fucking mess of what's going on. Like no real rhyme or reason why these guys are fighting. They're calling Judgment Day on Finn Balor, but what the fuck did Finn do? What the fuck did he do? So he beat Damian Priest and all of a sudden he's owed like some kind of retribution? Fuck out of here with that. And then last but not least, I have here, who had the better return between Mustafa Ali and Asuka? So I asked you this question, I think last night, and you were quick to pull the trigger on Asuka. It's Asuka, right? It's Asuka. And I said, well, no, slow down. I said, don't think who you like more.
Yeah.
Really take a second and comprehend who had the better return, because so we got the Miz and Theory together in the ring for a Miz TV segment, which the chemistry between those two guys is great. They work together. If they wanted a mentor for Theory, the Miz is probably that guy. Or if they want to turn Theory face at some point, the Miz is a great guy to put him against. They had great chemistry. But then we got Mustafa Ali coming in. And Mustafa Ali, to me, is one of those guys. He's a great wrestler. Great in the ring. Technician, does all the flippy things. But he's missing something. Like he doesn't have that element that makes me go, I'm interested in what Ali's got to do. And I did think it was cool that they played into the whole disgruntled employee thing where they went after the I thought you still work here? The Miz is good at that kind of thing. He played into that well. So we get the match between the Miz and Mustafa. Good match, solid match. Both guys look good. Mustafa comes out with a win. Got no problem there. But then as he's walking to the back, Ciampa comes out of nowhere and attacks him.
Yeah.
So where does that play into this? And so what is the build here? If we're just playing fantasy booker, are we headed toward a triple threat match at Backlash between Ciampa, Mustafa, and Theory? Is it a fatal four-way match between Miz, Theory? Is it going to be a tag team? It can't be a tag team because there's three heels in this. I don't know. I'm confused by what the purpose was of Ciampa just coming out of nowhere and attacking him.
I have no idea either.
I mean, it kind of felt like punishment almost. Hey, you want to talk shit behind the scenes? Here, take a shot for no reason from Ciampa coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. But
that was Monday Night Raw in a nutshell. It wasn't, like I said, coming out of WrestleMania, I don't love the WrestleMania Backlash branding to me. It lends itself to exposing how big of a dip Backlash is going to be. Because at this point in time, unless you read the dirt sheets, they pre-tape Raw this week. So lots of people know what happened already. I chose to abstain from that.
Yeah.
They haven't started a Roman Reigns feud, right? We thought it was Shinsuke Nakamura. Doesn't look like it's going to be Shinsuke Nakamura. So we got 1 to 2 weeks to build up Roman Reigns for Backlash. The big thing that we're selling here is the unification of the tag team titles. Cool. I'm all in. I like that. No problem there. Looks like we got Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville on Monday Night Raw, so that's not going to be a thing. We're getting Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair again. Excuse me, while I yawn for a second. That's not working. It's time for Bayley to come back. Bayley, if Bayley doesn't show up and interrupt that match, SmackDown is we're getting into a position now where SmackDown is what Monday Night Raw used to be. Not enough star power there. And they're banking on things the way they banked on Bobby Lashley on Monday Night Raw before. They're banking on Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey to sell a feud that most people just were not interested in.
I feel like WrestleMania told them enough. Nobody really liked it.
Exactly. I mean, that was to me too, right?
Being there, it was quiet as fuck when they were wrestling. Except for when her boobie popped out, but I missed it.
But no, I tried to tell somebody that. I tried to tell somebody on the internet. I said, they were like, man, you must not have watched WrestleMania. I was like, motherfucker, I was there.
I was there, bitch.
That was by far on Saturday night, there was no energy. People, for 90% of the match, people were looking up at a fight or something that was happening in the stands.
Crazy. I'd still like to know what was going on.
But there wasn't a ton of attention on the ring. It was just bad placement maybe, but also just Ronda Rousey's
between the two.
Ronda Rousey's not a babyface. I actually, the last couple of weeks, I've thought Charlotte has done an extremely good job of the heel, of working as the heel.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Ronda Rousey, the chemistry between the two.
She doesn't reciprocate it well at all.
Exactly. The chemistry between the two doesn't work.
You'd have to have somebody with a uber super crazy. I mean, I don't even know who you could put her with. That's a good question.
All right, let's move into my second topic of the day. And this is a topic of, I want to talk about the next big superstars in professional wrestling that I think are going to jump between companies, okay? Because if you watch AEW, Tony Khan's quickly running out of surprises, right? Every week he's got a big surprise. I'm going to tell you about the big surprise. I got a big surprise. Everybody pay attention, I got a big surprise. And so he's going to have to start plucking guys out of WWE. It's what he does. It's how he stays relevant, right? He's going to have to go put the bug in their ear and start doing it. And I also don't feel like this is a bad thing. Like, I want to get it straight. I don't feel like it's a bad thing when guys switch companies. Cody going to WWE, and not because it's AEW to WWE, but I think it was a positive for everybody in wrestling. I think Cody had worn his welcome out in AEW.
Yeah.
And I think he was highly welcomed back to WWE. Like Bryan Danielson going from WWE to AEW, I think was an extremely great move for professional wrestling. But I did have a thought while we were watching some USFL this past week.
Uh-huh.
The AEW to me, and once again here, everybody's going to get pissed off. This is my opinion. AEW to me feels like the USFL of football. Because what it feels like to me is it's the undersized, not real spectacular, not a big production. There's quality wrestling. There's a bunch of guys that are really good at what they do, but like it's never gonna gain just world renown. Like it's never gonna be the thing that is mainstream. AEW is always gonna feel like this little niche thing, and that's fine because I almost feel like AEW fans want it that way. Mm-hmm. AEW fans want it to stay kind of their little secret, and it makes them feel like they're a part of something. If you're an AEW fan, you're just fucking cool, man. You're a cool wrestling fan. Yeah, it is. It's what CM Punk said, right? We're the indie band at the bowling alley. That's great. I want to be the rock star standing on fucking Madison Square Garden stage.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fine. We have a difference in opinions. But I do think that's what AEW feels like to me. Maybe a little higher than USFL. That may be a little low bar, but it definitely, the more and more I watch the two products next to each other, there's a divide. And it's from a production standpoint, it's from a marketing standpoint, it's from the ability to fill out arenas. It all exists. And maybe the wrestling is closer, like wrestling talent is closer to equal, but like in size, it's not closer. Mm-hmm. In size, the big larger than life characters are in WWE. So like I said, next guy's Jumping Company. Got me thinking. We haven't seen Cesaro yet.
True.
So that's one that I feel like he's on the blocks. Is it AEW? Is it ROH? Cesaro's not going to not wrestle. He'll show up at some point in time. My question, though, Lauren, was: do you think that Tony Khan sits and like reads the dirt sheets and tries to get a feel for like who's unhappy in WWE, so that he can like plant bugs in like people's ears? Like,
yes, I 100%.
Let's say like with Cesaro, I imagine that when he starts to see a guy who's disgruntled, he's got little birdies that he sends out that go, hey, you'd be much happier in AEW, right? And so these guys, they basically they get out of their contracts, they go over to AEW, they get the big surprise return, and then they're relegated to like nothing. Like half of these guys, where are they?
I don't even know.
I mean, you really think at the end of the day, Adam Cole is just that fucking elated with his position on that roster?
No, because he's just another guy.
I mean, like, how many people are watching Adam Cole? It does feel to me like AEW is just a slightly bigger NXT.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking, I wonder what the pay difference was between NXT and there. If it was significant or not.
AEW guys get paid pretty well. I think Tony Khan has pocketbooks, but it reminds me of the same way, kind of like the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Because he has so much money, he has no rhyme or reason for what he's paying people. Mm-hmm. He just writes big checks, right?
Yeah.
And he fucks up the market on like what guys are worth. Oh, I'll just give CM Punk this much money. Yeah. Just because he's CM Punk. And then he didn't fucking really do anything with CM Punk. Mustafa Ali felt like somebody that was on the brink of changing companies, but the WWE seemed to kind of roll him back in and go, no, we're going to get you back out there and get you going. He seemed like the perfect fit for AEW. Mm-hmm. Little guy, flips around a lot, does a lot of cool wrestling shit, but has no real gimmick or no real selling ability, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to get over with the crowd huge. The AEW nerds are going to fucking love him, but that's it. That's what he does. The other person who feels like that to me is Shinsuke Nakamura. When you look at Shinsuke Nakamura, and I like Shinsuke Nakamura a lot, but what is there left for him to do in WWE? When you really look at it, he's not going to win the WWE or the Universal title, especially with them now being unified. He's not even remotely in that picture. Even if he gets a title shot, it's just one of those placeholders for a couple weeks because we got to keep the stories rolling. We saw what he did with the IC title. Hardly ever wrestled, was kind of beat up, banged up. He's older than I thought he was.
Yeah.
And so he seems like the prime next candidate to jump ship. Like WWE's got to look at a certain point and go, hey, well, there's just nothing left for him to do. What are we going to do with him? These guys can't just be jobbed out week after week, can they? Can you really just sit and job out Shinsuke Nakamura week after week? I don't think you can. And so I think Shinsuke's probably one of the next to go. He seems like a guy that fits in that whole like forbidden door, and we could put him in some hellacious dream matches, right? CM Punk, Shinsuke Nakamura. Oh God, this is a fucking wrestling nerd's dream. I think like WWE gets what they can out of a guy, and then they're not going to put him in a bunch of these dream matches. That's not what WWE's selling point is. So I feel like he may be the next to go. The other guy I feel like maybe the next to go is Finn Balor. Finn Balor feels like the kind of guy that is Tony Khan's wet dream. That like he sits around and dreams about, right?
All right.
And I have zero idea what these guys' contract status is. So I don't know, like I don't know the reality, but WWE could cut them at any time. But this is just purely going off of like feelings to me. And just like Shinsuke Nakamura, I look at Finn Balor and I go, what is the upside? Mm-hmm. Where do you go? Because he's not young.
No.
So he's not a guy you want to keep in the mid card forever. They're not treating him like a guy who sells tickets. He wasn't even on the WrestleMania card. With like 27 matches, he wasn't on it.
Yeah.
And he, at the time, was the IC title holder. No, the United States title holder.
Yeah.
And just not on the show. I don't know if that says more about the belt or says more about Finn Balor. But basically, right now, they've got him jobbing out to Damian Priest and jobbing out to Theory. So, like, really, how long is Finn Balor going to be happy with that? He seems like a guy who has higher aspirations, especially later in his career, to do bigger things than that. And I ask, why don't we see more of Finn Balor as the Demon?
I don't know. I like the Demon.
Yeah, like, why is that not a thing? Why are we not seeing more of Finn Balor as the Demon in the Demon role? Why isn't he just the Demon all the time?
Is it because it's not PG enough?
I don't think it has anything to do with PG. I think it's one of those things where it's like reserved for special features, but then they never use it at the right time. The Undertaker was the Undertaker all the time.
Yeah. Why
can't Finn Balor, like the entrance is more interesting. The makeup is more interesting. The moveset and like attitude is more interesting. Why is Finn Balor just not the Demon? Why is that not a thing? Why at every pay-per-view, and this goes back to, I get when people go like, well, WWE's kind of stupid when it comes to these things. You have Bray Wyatt and you don't use Bray Wyatt correctly. And now you have Finn Balor as a Demon and you don't use the Demon correctly. Like it just seems to me, and maybe we're headed there, but does the Demon not seem like the perfect counter to Damian Priest and Edge at this point?
Yeah.
Like it just feels like he should have already transformed into the Demon. So I don't get why we don't get that. The other name I had on this list, and this is kind of a long shot, just like throw it out there. It has some feeling to me. And I know she's not even technically, like she's under WWE contract, but I don't think she's technically like, I'd call her a WWE wrestler, but it's Paige.
Ooh, that would be cool.
And let me explain to you my thinking on Paige, because I think Paige would hold a ton of value in the AEW women's division, even not wrestling. Just managing some of these younger superstars, because the AEW women's roster is young. There's a lot of young girls on that roster, and it feels like Paige could get in there and mentor. And even if she's not taking bumps, I think she's at a point where she could probably get physical. And so I think that she fits that world, that kind of indie, she came from the England wrestling, the little rougher. It just feels like it would make sense having Paige over there as even just a figurehead, kind of like a Sting, right?
Yeah.
You stick her with someone like Chris Statlander or whoever, right? Put her with somebody, and she immediately elevates that person. She can talk, she can handle a microphone. She's completely wasted in WWE right now.
I agree.
Like, I don't understand why we don't have Paige doing something, but it does feel like she could elevate the AEW brand. And if WWE is not going to use her, and whether she wrestles ever again or not, Paige needs to be a part of wrestling. She was too integral for too long of a time.
Agreed.
All right, so let's flip the other direction. Let's talk about this from the other direction. There's two names that I think are very strong possibilities to jump over from AEW to the WWE side. And one of them is a little bit of a long shot, and one of them I think is inevitable. And the one that I think is a little bit of a long shot, but I think it's going to happen, and that's Britt Baker. I think at some point in time, Britt Baker is going to have to jump from AEW to WWE, because when you just look around the AEW women's roster, what is there really? Britt Baker is on another level. Like there's Britt Baker, and then there's the rest of the roster. So there's not a lot to keep putting her to. Like I get Thunder Rosa's seems like a big deal in AEW, but the fact that they had to come to San Antonio to put the belt on her to get the big pop, like in some other places, people don't really give a shit who Thunder Rosa is.
True.
Nothing against Thunder Rosa, cool wrestler, but she's not over when you start playing like big match booking, right? With Britt Baker, there's nobody left on AEW. But then imagine Britt Baker, Sasha Banks. That's a big match. It's a big time match.
Oh yeah.
That's a match that can main event a pay-per-view and possibly main event a WrestleMania. You've got Britt Baker, Becky Lynch. That's great.
Ooh, would be
great. Both of them great mic workers. Bianca Belair and Britt Baker. Here we go again. Another two younger stars.
Bianca versus Britt.
That could be a long-term feud. Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Bayley. Too many names in the upper echelon of women's wrestling. Like Becky Lynch said it the other day. The AEW women's roster is just different. It's just elevated. It's bigger than the AEW. It's better than the AEW women's roster. And Britt Baker is plug and play in that position. You can slide her in and she's ready to go. She would fit right in with these women. I had a question as I started writing this down and thought about this. Let's pretend for a minute, I know this isn't how wrestling works, but let's pretend for a minute that wrestling was like professional sports in the sense that we could make trades. Okay? Who would you be willing to trade on the WWE roster in order to get Britt Baker from AEW? And when I looked all through, like the only thing that made sense to me was Charlotte. I think I would trade Charlotte Flair for Britt Baker right now.
Okay.
And so this is going to piss off the Charlotte fans. I get it, but you have to look at this objectively. Charlotte comes with a ton of prestige, right? She's won the title 50 million times, is super talented in the ring, lacks a little bit of personality from my point of view, but a lot of people love her. But she's also an older superstar, okay? Mm-hmm. So AEW would get the benefit of a polished, like well-known big name who can main event and draw attractions.
Yeah.
Great. Britt Baker, the marketability on Britt Baker, I think, is limitless. I think eventually she's going to be one of the biggest names in women's wrestling.
I saw she filed for
the DMG trademark.
Yeah.
Saw that. But also, like, we're going to get to it in a minute. Spoiler here. When I looked at people's ages, I guess I had no idea who was what age in wrestling. And Britt Baker is one of the younger wrestlers. So to see that, I go, well, WWE could get a long-term investment out of that. So you give up Charlotte Flair, big name, big draw, but you're getting in return a young Britt Baker. That's a trade I would make at this point in time. I would trade Charlotte Flair for Britt Baker right now. Like, I would do it, no questions asked.
Trade for the future.
Now, secondly, the second person that I think this one's inevitable, guys. I don't think there's any question this is happening, and I actually have a prediction I'm going to make in a minute, but MJF is going to be in the WWE when his contract expires, unless Tony Khan gives him, and mark my words, the biggest contract in pro wrestling history. It will have to be that big. He will have to be the highest paid wrestler in order not to leave AEW and go to WWE. And even then, that number has to be remarkably higher than what WWE is willing to pay him.
Why?
The potential there is just too high. He is, when you hear him speak, he is wrestling. He is more of a sports entertainer and a wrestler. He's both. He is the epitome of both sides. He's got skills in the ring. He's talented, but he also has that ability to tell a story unlike anybody else. And the problem is MJF is a WWE kid. He grew up on WWE. He has that kind of taste for WWE. And you can't compare. I'm sorry. You can't compare main eventing AEW All In to going to WrestleMania and wrestling in front of 70 to 100,000 people. It's not the same thing. Like, so money can only get you so far when you're signing a wrestler. MJF is gonna want the WrestleMania moment. And I do feel like that just being like in the top 4 or 5 matches on WrestleMania is a bigger accomplishment than main eventing an All In pay-per-view. Like, they can sell me on like All In is the AEW WrestleMania, but it's not. It's just another real big indie wrestling pay-per-view. It's not, it's nowhere in the echelon of a WrestleMania. And this is going to piss off some AEW fans, but let's be realistic about the AEW World Championship right now. The AEW World Championship is a stepping stone. It is not a mountaintop. It is not a pinnacle of any of it doesn't elevate you in wrestling. You don't become AEW World Champion and all of a sudden you've made it. It's a stepping stone. It's another accomplishment. It's a little better than being Impact World Champion. That's what it is, right? And there's a prime example of this. Look at Hangman Adam Page. He won the AEW World Championship, and it hasn't made him exciting. It hasn't elevated him to another level. The people who liked Hangman, they're all excited, and everybody else is like, how quick can we get this belt off of him? He's boring.
Yeah.
The belt didn't elevate him, and that belt isn't elevating anybody. When you become WWE champion, there's a vibe, you get a little swag off that belt. No matter who you are, if you're Kofi, Sheamus, Roman Reigns, when you become WWE champion, there's a swag that comes with it. And MJF, he's a performer, man. He's not a wrestler. In all terms of the word, he is a sports entertainer. He is what Jericho's making fun of. I dare to say at this moment in time, I truly believe that MJF will be a WWE champion before he ever sees the AEW World Championship. And the cool thing is, like, at his age, he could go to WWE, accomplish some things, and then make a triumphant return back to AEW at some point. He's got that kind of time. But if you look at the AEW World title, where does MJF really fall in that line? Like, where is he
57.
really in that line? You got to think, right? His contract expires January of 2024. This is public knowledge, right? That's 1 year and some change. Okay. So let's assume that Hangman Adam Page is about done with his run. He's going to get like 1 more month out of it. Let's say Punk knocks him off at Double or Nothing, which is the next AEW pay-per-view. Punk's keeping that thing for 6 months at least, because hate him or love him, and I love CM Punk the wrestler, don't love Phil Brooks the person, but CM Punk is going to be a great wrestling champion. That's what he does. He thrives in that position. Heel or face, as champion, he will elevate the brand of AEW. It's a wonder that they've taken this long to put the belt on either him or Bryan Danielson. But let's say they put on Punk next. 6 months. Okay, so that takes us through like November. And you know Tony Khan is watching what WWE is doing. And he sees that WWE is going with these longer title runs with Roman Reigns. So he's going to get that itch to go, I don't want to play hot potato. I don't want to, if I'm the IWC company, I don't want to be the company playing hot potato with the title, because IWC loses their shit every time a belt bounces around a little bit. Like, it's not realistic. Like, like there's not a world UFC where guys get beat 2 pay-per-views after they won the title. That's realistic. Guys can't hold the belt forever. But let's say 6 months for argument's sake, right? Takes us to November. Now, who's next in line after CM Punk? Bryan Danielson? He feels like the proper guy to go after, right? If you're really trying to, like, if you're doing this from a business standpoint, you go CM Punk, then you go CM Punk losing that belt to Bryan Danielson is fucking huge. It's huge. So now you got another 6 months with Bryan Danielson, right?
Yes.
By then, Kenny Omega's back.
Hey.
And you got to start putting Kenny back in that picture, right? Where the fuck is Miro? What happened to Miro? All of a sudden, he's back, and he's going to want to be in that title picture. Moxley's not going to want to just be second fiddle forever. These guys are going to start going, oh fuck, I can go back to WWE if you've got nothing for me to do. I might as well go back. It's kind of what happened to Cody, I think. It was like, well, there's nothing left for me to do here.
True.
I'm not going to fuck around. Like, because let's be real honest, okay? The TNT title, they can sell it as whatever they want. They can go, these belts are the same thing. TNT, AEW, they're both belts. One's not major, one's not mid-card. Fuck you. That's not how people's minds work. The AEW World Championship, it's the big boy, right? That's where the big guys are. You know who gets the TNT title? Sammy Guevara, okay? Scorpio Sky. Not MJ. You're not giving that belt to Kenny Omega, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson. They don't have time for that fucking belt. They want the big boy belt. They want the big shiny belt, right? My best bet for MJF is that maybe they put the TNT belt on him in the next year. And even then, like, that's kind of a fucking disservice to him. He deserves better than that. But the truth is, like, for MJF, how many other shiny toys does Tony Khan find in between now and 2024? Because we were joking around, but let's be real. Like, how many new names does he sign that he goes, what if another guy from WWE becomes available? Like, let's just fucking throw a name. Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Let's say at some point Seth Rollins gets pissed off and goes, I'm done with WWE. And he goes to AEW. Well, he's in line, right? He jumps the line. So it only takes one or two of those guys before we go, we're out of time. There's no more time to get MJF this belt. There could be a last second panic move, like right before his contract expires, that they try and throw the belt on him. But I truly believe they're not putting the belt on MJF. They don't see, I don't think they see the benefits in that.
I agree with you.
All right, so having talked all my shit about AEW, let's go through. Let's let Jay remind us what happened this past week in AEW, and we'll be back in about 6 minutes with top.
I wonder why Jay didn't want me to throw this Band-Aid away. What? Hey, it's your boy Raphael from Jay Knows Wrestling, and this is This Week in AEW. We got a Bret Hart match, but without Bret Hart, it was much, much worse. It was CM Punk taking on yet another tag team guy in Dustin Rhodes. Yep, CM Punk won. I'm pretty sure you could have telegraphed that one. But after the match, CM Punk and Adam Hangman Page, AEW World Champion, stared deep into each other's eyes. The Blackpool Combat Club of Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, and Bryan Danielson. You know him as Daniel Bryan. I see what they did with his name there. Also with Wheeler Utah and William Regal, also just beat up some random guys. Hook makes his AEW debut, or Dynamite debut rather, and beats a random guy. Danhausen once again tries to curse him, and it does not work. Britt Baker beats some random woman to get a chance to look at Owen Hart's cup. Adam Cole says he, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish will be teaming up with the Young Bucks next week on Dynamite. I bet you will be against a bunch of random guys. Wardlow defeats the Butcher. I bet you didn't see that coming since the Butcher got that win on Rampage last week. Crazy. But next week, MJF has set up another match for Wardlow, this time against Lance Archer. I wonder if he'll get a win on Rampage before taking on Wardlow. Who knows? Kyle O'Reilly defeats Jungle Boy at a chance to win a raffle for Owen Hart's Cup. I don't know why you have to qualify to get in to fight for. There's a lot of stuff going on with this tournament based around juggling Owen Hart's Cup. Not quite sure what, but it's just a little odd to me. Just saying. Scorpio Sky, now a good guy. Sammy Guevara, now a bad guy. Scorpio Sky asked for his rematch for his TNT Championship. Sammy Guevara said yes, they can have it, but they need to have a mixed tag match as well. I'm assuming Sammy is going to use Ty Conte as his partner, but who's even on the other team? Because you had Ethan Page, Dan Lambert, Scorpio Sky out there, so no women at all. So what is going on? Like, he didn't even say which man is going to be in the mixed tag match. But anyways, next week on Dynamite, Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Darby Allin defeats Andrade El Idolo in a casket match. Andrade actually used the rules like they should be. It's a casket match, no disqualification, so the whole Andrade family office was there to jump Darby Allin at the beginning. But Sting was in the crowd wearing a Sting mask and started fighting the people off as well. Darby Allin then got Andrade El Idolo in the casket with the thumbtacks on it. And then on Rampage, the Jericho Appreciation Society was not allowed into the building. Daniel Garcia was, though, because Daniel Garcia had a match. But for some reason, nobody else was allowed in the building. I guess that's the only way they can enforce nobody at ringside is not letting them in the building whatsoever. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Even though they could have just bought a ticket and went in the other way. But whatever. Adam Cole defeats Ishii. Ishii really needed that cup Adam Cole just qualified to go after. Because Adam Cole hit him with the low blow and then the boom. So we got this big pay-per-view, Forbidden Door. It's so crazy, right? We just had a New Japan guy take on an AEW guy on television this week. Last week we had it. So why is this called Forbidden Door again? Who knows? Eddie Kingston defeats Daniel Garcia! So I don't know if this feud between Kingston, Santana, Ortiz, and the Jericho Appreciation Society is over or not. Hook finds Danhausen destroying some delicious Frito-Lay chips. Frito-Lay. Lay's being their base flavor. Apparently, Danhausen believes this is where Hook gets his powers. Well, Hook slams Danhausen against the wall and says his first words, "If you wanted my attention, you have it now." Pretty crazy. Why'd you have Hook talk when he sounds like that? Those two will be having a match sometime. Really wasn't, I don't know, just really wasn't said when or if it will happen. It was just kind of implied. And for the main event, we got Jade Cargill versus the enemy of an entire audience's sleep, Maria Shafir. Actually, we were able to stay awake for this one because Jade Cargill was in the match. She wins and gets her 30th win. Jade Cargill, 30 wins, and TBS champion. Don't look like there's any stopping her. But I was pretty proud because myself and the entire AEW crowd did not fall asleep watching a Maria Shafir match, so she must be getting better. But that was this week in AEW. If there's anything you loved, comment down below. Bob and Raphael for J Knows Wrestling, and we'll see you next time.
I cut off too early on
Catch
that.
the end of that. We're gonna have to go back and look
Yeah.
at that. That is big. He does that so well. I thought he was talking when he talked about Hook. I thought he was talking about Danhausen. Now I gotta go back and watch and hear how Hook talks. Jeez, I hope it's not as bad as. Oh God.
I hope it is. I hope it's just as dirty as that.
All right. Let's move into topic number 3 of the show.
All right.
This was a topic I've been wanting to touch on for a little bit, and it is. I love pro wrestling, but there's definitely, as I've gotten older, there are things that I don't like. So this topic is, what are the things in pro wrestling that I hate the most? And it's a weird topic because ultimately, during different parts of my life, my relationship with wrestling has been different. As a kid, it was just like this surreal thing, right? Everything seemed real. The Undertaker's fucking real. Stone Cold's real. The Rock is real. It's all real. It's amazing. It's the greatest movie ever. As I got older, you begin to like appreciate the athleticism and the spectacle of the event, the fireworks, the lights, the stage. And then in my current state now, it's become a hobby to watch. It's something to break up the monotony of like everyday regular life. When people go, how do you watch wrestling? It's fake. No, man, it's a movie that never ends. It's like the best Avengers movie of all
I
fucking
agree.
time. It never ends. It's constantly going. We got dead guys. We got casket matches. We got I quit matches. Ronda Rousey shit. Like it's like a fucking spectacle. It's you never know what's gonna happen week to week, and you kind of do know what's gonna happen week to week, and that makes it fun. But the real truth is, when I close my eyes and I play make believe, at this point in time, I don't really have anything wrong with actual professional wrestling. You know, there's like stupid stories that happen from time to time that we go, oh, that's dumb.
But I kind of like them, though.
Exactly.
Even
Like
the
you
bad
kind of
ones.
learn to like even the dumb shit that happens. But the worst part of pro wrestling, when you pull the curtains back, like the worst part of it is like the negativity and like realizing that like some of these wrestlers are scumbags.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And it makes me appreciate the Bianca Belairs, the Montez Fords, the guys and the girls who are great role models for kids. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, wrestling is for all ages, but there is an element of wrestling that is kiddish, right? It's make-believe. We're playing make-believe. And it's great that adults can play make-believe, but I do appreciate the fact that not everybody has to be a role model, but it makes me appreciate those people for being a role model. I mean, we used to do the douchebag awards, and it almost became depressing because like at first it started out as a joke because I knew like, oh, there's 3 or 4 guys that are douchebags. Then all of a sudden you got people writing in and going like, well, Theory's a douchebag.
Yeah.
CM Punk's a douchebag. And you're just like, I didn't want to know all this. Like I really did. Fuck.
Riddle's a
douchebag. And it's like,
That would cut me hard.
I don't want to watch wrestling and sit and go like, oh, all these guys are just fuckheads. Like they're all idiots. And to me, that's the part of wrestling that I don't like is when I break out of the make-believe and I go, these are real people. They have real problems in their life. They do real stupid shit a lot of times. That's hard. It's hard for me to kind of get with that. But even with that, I still think the worst part of pro wrestling, and this is something that I've only been exposed to in like the last year of my life, and I had heard the term, but I never knew what the fuck it was. It's the IWC. It's the IWC. It's the Internet Wrestling Community, which I'm sure from the naked eye, like I get lumped into it. They go, you're part of the IWC. You're a guy who talks about wrestling. But I like to believe that like the IWC is the know-it-all fucks. Like I talk a lot of shit, but I don't claim to know anything. I'm a guy who just like, I got some design elements behind me. I put together a pretty good production, but like if you listen to me, you know what the fuck you're getting at this point. Like anybody who's listening to me understands I'm just talking a lot of shit from a casual point of view. And this IWC, they exist in multiple places. I see them on YouTube. I see them on Instagram. I see them on Twitter. But Jesus Christ, TikTok is the worst fucking place in the world. I hate TikTok. And we have to use it because TikTok is the most friendly platform to a content creator who's trying to grow, right? But like all of these content creators, they all call themselves, they're content creators, right? They just want to fucking argue with each other.
Yeah.
They don't want to make any original content. They don't want to put out original ideas and like, they don't want to hang on real thoughts. They don't want, like, you have to say some stupid shit that's wrong. I say a lot of shit that's wrong, and then I eat the shit for it. These guys want to argue with each other. They want to feed off of each other's content, and they just want to make reply after reply after reply. And I think that's why when I came onto TikTok from doing this podcast and bringing it to TikTok and cutting clips and putting them on TikTok, I think that's why like I was so fucking like alienated right off the bat because I didn't want to play the game. They all wanted to take my videos and go, oh great, we got a new guy to fucking jump on.
Nerdy D's here.
Yeah, and we can all fucking pile on. And I was just like, oh, we're not gonna do this.
Yeah.
We're not gonna play this game. Like, here we go, no stitching and no duet. Oh, he doesn't allow us to stitch. Yeah, because you don't have any fucking original ideas. What you guys do is you take what I say and you fucking chew it up and try to spit it back out at me. And you guys sit and fucking think about it for fucking 12 hours. I write this shit like 2 hours before we go on, and I just talk about like shit that's in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to reply. I'm not going to fucking come back. You know, I tried like a few times texting back with these guys, but they're so irrational and they're just fucking like know-it-all jackasses. And it gets so fucking annoying. And then 1 minute, these guys are all fucking hugging each other and eating lunch together and kumbaya and fucking loving on each other. And then the next minute, they all want to fucking kill one of them.
Yep.
And it's just like it rotates who it is. It's like it's this guy today, it's this guy today, and this guy got banned because this guy fucking talked shit. We all know who fucking did it. Shut the fuck up and stop fighting with each other.
Like never mind.
It's like a bunch of fucking high school kids. They like I don't have time. Once I'm done with this, like I cut it off and I go into promotional mode. I'm promoting this show. I'm not like, it's not an ego boost. I don't need to talk shit or tell them where they're wrong. I could give two fucks what they're saying. But like, this is just supposed to be a fun thing. Wrestling's supposed to be fun. And I want everybody to have an opinion. I want those people to have an opinion. I just don't understand why like it always has to be. And like anybody who listens to the show, they know who I'm talking about, right? Oh, you know, well, let me tell you where you're wrong. Use a straw man's argument.
Well,
shut the fuck up, dude. Just let somebody have an opinion. You don't know any fucking more than that guy does, right? And then you get like the ex-wrestler guys who think they know more. And it's like, cool, man. Yeah, you've done this. Doesn't make you any fucking smarter than anybody else. I gotta tell you, like, you may feel smarter and you may feel like you have an inside, but I played basketball at a real high level. I don't fucking feel like I'm any more knowledgeable about pro basketball than anybody else. Especially being removed this far from my time of playing basketball. Like, doing something doesn't make you an expert at something, and it definitely doesn't make your opinion more of an expert. And like, every time I get on TikTok, I just like, it's like, Jesus, they love each other, they hate each other, they all want to fucking hug each other, they all, oh, you, and I love this guy, and make sure you follow this guy. Man, fuck all these people. They ruined wrestling. They ruined AEW for me for sure.
Yeah.
Like I came in hot, really liking AEW, and then they fucking like jumped all on me for having like opinions that AEW guys are too small. Then all of a sudden it becomes the fucking thing to say is that, well, AEW guys are too small. Mm-hmm. Don't think I don't fucking hear all these people regurgitate shit I say and not give credit back. Mm-hmm. Like I hear, like when Jay says something that I say, there's always credit given. And that's 100% what the fuck I do this for. I do this to create conversation. And there's another guy, forgot his fucking name. I newly followed him, and I'll get his name and I'll shout him out next time. But he did the same thing. He credited me for what he said, and he goes on to comment. But I see all the time these fuckers trying to talk about shit that I'm talking about, and then like create it like it's. And then I see like the audacity of them to get on and then be like, all these people copying content, and I'm like, it's you, motherfucker. You're the one doing the shit. But as far as like actual wrestling goes, I don't really have any qualms with pro wrestling. I've come to terms with like, you know, everybody's been at one point in time the guy who's like, well, that's a stupid story and I know better than. I think at this point in time, being a parent kind of changes you and how you watch wrestling, right? It's a fucking relaxing thing. It's an entertainment. It's like watching a movie. There's bad parts of movies. There's good parts of movies. And wrestling has all that. If I had to pick things that I hate in wrestling, it's things like the Randy Orton spot at the end of Monday Night Raw, where like everybody gets a turn.
I think my least favorite thing would be like when they let a match go too long. That's an
AEW thing, right?
You know what I mean?
Because we need to
an
go
hour-long match
60
to
minutes.
me, no. That's ridiculous.
That to me is, I call it wrestling porn. It's wrestling porn is what that it is. It's wrestling porn. It's for the guys who get off on the individual techniques. And that's great. Like, cool. That's not me. See this
30 minutes max.
Casual wrestling show.
Anything over 30 minutes is ridiculous to me.
Anything over 10 minutes starts to feel real long to me.
10 minutes is a perfect spot. I remember we went to RCW.
Unless
and it was like 10 minutes.
They had 10-minute time limits, and it felt like the show was moving, and I loved it. It was awesome. And everybody got to tell their story in 10 minutes. If it's a big time match, 20 to 30 minutes is fine because, hey, man, it's storytelling.
That's what I said, 30-minute max. And that's like, if it's like
a Monday Night
God.
Raw or AEW Dynamite match that goes over fucking 10 minutes is crazy.
Yeah.
It is. The other thing I hate about wrestling is there's not weight classes. I am the big proponent. Like the thing I'll fucking, the fucking soapbox that I'll stand on is I don't like small wrestlers. I don't like that we put so many small wrestlers in a position against big wrestlers. Like, let's have weight classes. Let's do maybe not like 10 like the UFC, but let's have like a light heavyweight, a middleweight, and a heavyweight. And then we can create super matches around those, right? All of a sudden, the light heavyweight guy goes against the heavyweight, and it becomes a bigger deal. And instead of having so many like, and I get like it's hard because there's prestige, but maybe just add the weight classes to the belts that exist. But like, what the fuck is a United States champion versus like what is a Universal champion versus what is an Intercontinental champion, which is versus what is a European champion? Like, those things don't really mean anything. WWE 90% takes place in the United States. So like this guy represents the United States but has no fucking allegiance to the United States. Those things don't make sense. It would make more sense to me. And I did see WWE is flirting with using a ranking system like AEW, which is something like to be considered a real sport, it needs to exist. WWE needs a ranking system. They need something that we can come on and talk about week to week who is ranked what. Right? It just gives a better feel. While I know, like I've said it numerous times, the AEW records don't fucking matter. They don't matter, but they're there and they're kind of cool to talk about, right? Like CM Punk is 12-0 or whatever, or so-and-so is, and so they're great talking points for people to talk about, even though they don't matter. And in WWE, it's the same thing. Like, just let us know who's kind of next in line. And you can jump the line just like UFC, but like give us these rankings. WWE could take a lot from UFC to create a product. I think press conferences are needed. I do think they should have pre-pay-per-view press conferences. That would be cool. And I do think that they should have weight classes, at least 3. And just like mark them, like the Universal title is the heavyweight, the Intercontinental, the middleweight, the United States, the lightweight, and then like the 24/7 is an open division. Whatever. Seems cool. All right, topic number 4. This was the fun topic of the day. So topic number 4 was I literally had no idea who was what age in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And I went down a rabbit hole and I started going like, well, how old is this person? And how old is this person? And I know Hook's real young, but I literally had no clue. And so I thought it'd be fun to identify from each year since the year I was born. So people who were born my year all the way up to like, I think I have it till 99 because that's when it kind of tapers off into people that people don't know. I wanted to pick the best pro wrestler from each year. And look, if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. Let us know. Let us know if something sounds right, doesn't sound right. All of this information came from prowrestling.fandom.com. That's where these numbers came from. So if they're wrong, you can blame them. Don't fucking blame me. But like I said, let me know in the comments if I left somebody out or if I'm just if you think I'm blatantly wrong on one of these. But we'll start right off the bat, Lauren. 1985, the year I was born. Greatest year of all time. The year I was born. The year I graced this fucking beautiful planet. It's the best year ever. And when you look at this list, I'm not going to lie, it's by far the best list of names. 1985, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Jon Moxley, and Matt Cardona. That's a solid list. Like when you look at this of like 1980, that's a good year of wine for wrestling, pro wrestling. That's a fine, like it's a good year.
All right.
If you have to pick in there, Roman Reigns has got to be the guy, right? I mean, he's the biggest thing in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
He's the biggest thing. And when you look like, as you go down this list, maybe Seth Rollins is the other one. But like of the big upper echelon top guys, it starts in 85. That's where it is. After that, they're all way older. Even AEW, like CM Punk and those guys, they're way older.
Okay.
86. So we got 85, Roman Reigns. Best wrestler, 85, Roman Reigns. 1986, we got Seth Rollins, we got Matt Riddle, we got Charlotte Flair, and we got Big E. This was a little tough. I shit all over Charlotte, but she's very accomplished.
Most decorated women's wrestler.
Most decorated women's wrestler. I think that's a fair thing to say about her. I don't know that she's necessarily the greatest or the best, but she's the most decorated women's wrestler. But I just have a hard time betting against Seth Rollins. Like, he's got so much left in the tank.
He's Seth freaking Rollins,
Week in and week out, he intertwines himself into Monday Night Raw as some form of the main event. I've said he is the best loser in professional wrestling. He can lose a match and somehow come out on the other side, and you're like, did Seth Rollins get better? Like, he's in a better position, right? He lost to Cody Rhodes, but hell, he's selling it as like, well, you would lose too if you didn't know who your opponent was. So
True.
I got to go 85, Roman Reigns, 86, Seth Rollins, 1987, another decent
The
year.
best year ever.
No, I mean, this is your year, right? This is your year. You've got Becky Lynch, Bray Wyatt, Gunther / Walter, and I threw Johnny Gargano on here because he's a solid wrestler, but like he's not winning this thing.
I think it's
Becky Lynch.
yeah.
It's got to be, right? Bray Wyatt, he's just been so misused that I don't think you can give him the title. He's not currently wrestling, so Becky Lynch is one of, if not the biggest names in women's wrestling right now. So it's got to go. You got to go there, right? 87, Becky Lynch. 1988, Wardlow, Ricochet, Buddy Murphy. What the fuck? Like, this was not a great year for professional wrestling. This was a oddly weird year. Like, nothing there sticks out. When I look at this, I go, these are three guys who are up there in age, but none of them have just achieved a ton at the top level. Like, Wardlow feels like he's just coming into his own, and come to find out, he's on the upper end of the age spectrum.
Yeah.
Ricochet, while accomplished everywhere else, he's a mid-level guy in WWE who we go, like, I thought he was way younger than this. I was like, oh, he's got time. Like, but does he? It won't be long before, 2 years, he's in the same place as Roman Reigns and these guys, and he's not going to be in that main event picture in 2 years.
Nah.
So I went Ricochet here just because of what he's accomplished in other promotions.
I think that's appropriate.
I don't know enough about Buddy Murphy. Like, I think some people like Buddy Murphy. I just don't know enough about him. So I went Ricochet in 88. 1989, another good year. Adam Cole, Bianca Belair, Bayley. All right. So
That's a hard one.
it is a hard one.
That's a good one. That's a good year.
My first instinct, my gut instinct was Bayley. Bayley's a big deal.
Oh,
But then I looked at it and what's funny here, if you want to know just my thought process, I said, it's Bayley versus Bianca Belair. That's where I went. Okay. And just in my head, even though I'm doing a thing on age and year they were born, I was like, well, Bianca Belair is so much younger. And I'm like, wait, no, this literally says they're the same fucking age. So Bayley's pretty fucking seasoned for the age she is. She feels like more of a veteran than Bianca Belair. But my issue here is, and I picked Bianca Belair, it's just upside, man. I don't think Bianca Belair's came anywhere close to her ceiling. I think that WWE is going to push her to the fucking moon. And I think she has the potential to be the John Cena of women's wrestling. Maybe never the greatest wrestler, but just one of the biggest fan favorite women's wrestlers of all time. Like,
Definitely.
like, outside of some of the fucking just absolute haters, you don't meet many casual fans who have a problem with her.
No,
Like, of the general audience. The IWC,
genuine,
you always find
bro.
some weird fucks who can find a problem with anybody. But like, outside that. So I go 1989 is the year of Bianca Belair. 1990, we have Queen Zelina, Montez Ford, Swerve Strickland. I feel like Queen Zelina has been at this a long time. Like, I remember seeing her in Impact Wrestling and things like that. So she's another one who, at a young age, feels like pretty seasoned. Swerve Strickland, I don't know enough about him to really give him a mention here. Montez Ford, I've sang the praises of Montez Ford forever. I think Montez Ford has a huge potential. Born in 1990, that makes him 24 years old, right?
That's crazy.
10, 24, 20. No, we're in 22. See, how old
What
is
year was
he?
he born?
I'm way off on this shit.
What'd you say? 19 what?
He's born in 1990.
Okay.
Why am I struggling with
He's the
math?
same age as my brother, but I don't know how old my brother is. Minus 1992, you said?
90.
32.
32. Okay.
32,
That's a
yeah.
little different. That's a little older than I thought he was.
Yeah.
But still, I think he's got star potential. 91. 91, we've got Alexa Bliss, Britt Baker, Adam Page.
Ooh.
It's a tough one. There's a lot of young talent. This is when we're getting into like young talent. But once again, when we look at Alexa Bliss, I go, another person who got started young enough that pretty seasoned for that age. I still believe on this list, Britt Baker is the biggest name out of those three. I think she has potential.
That was a hard one.
I think,
Alexa and
I
her,
think
but-
the minute that Britt Baker makes the jump to WWE, which I said it here first, I think she will. And I think she becomes one of the biggest names in women's wrestling. 92, we got Paige, Sasha Banks, Jade Cargill, and Jay White. I don't give a fuck about Jay White. People tell me he's important. I really don't care about him. Jade Cargill, still too green. Gonna be a big deal, but still too green. Sasha Banks and Paige. Man, fucking Paige. 1992? And retired?
That's
due to injury? That sucks, man. Such a young, there was such a future in front of her. And I get now why that stings so much to people.
True.
I had to go Sasha Banks because at this age, just barely turning 30? She's still got quite a few years in front of her. I wonder what the average women's age is going to be.
I'll look it up.
Well, Charlotte's 36, right?
Yeah, she's pretty old.
So, or 35, 36.
Well, so you got Charlotte, then you have the Hart girl. What's her name?
Natalia's even probably older. But I'm saying, so it's not a problem for these girls to wrestle into their late 30s.
Well, as long as they get plastic surgery. They've all had plastic surgery.
I'm not touching that.
Every one of them has had Botox or something.
All right, 1993. We got Butch, Sonya Deville, Sammy Guevara, and Will Ospreay. I even practiced this last night. I practiced it. It's like Osprey. It's Osprey. I don't know. And people give me so much shit for not being able to say this. And I practiced it last night, and I just fucking whiffed it. I don't know. Ocean Spray. Will Ocean Spray. So Will Ocean Spray. So they tell me Butch, Pete Dunne, big deal.
Uh-huh.
I like him as Butch. I never really liked him as Pete, so not going to give him the year. Sonya Deville, while definitely especially after her interview, found huge respect for her. I don't think she's the best of the year. Fuck Sammy Guevara. He's not winning shit from me. Sammy Guevara will never, if we ever give out any kind of awards, you can bet Sammy Guevara doesn't even, he's immediately disqualified. I just don't fucking like Sammy Guevara. No chance. No way. So by default, it's Will Ocean Spray.
All right.
Will Ocean Spray. 94. Liv Morgan, Omos, Aaliyah, Leo Rush. Liv Morgan's young. I didn't realize how young she was. She's got lots of time. Why are we rushing this thing with her? Why are we all panicked and screaming that she needs to be better than Bianca Belair and she needs to win the title? And she's got lots of time, guys. She's a young spry lad. Lots of time for Liv Morgan. But Omos, all right, no. Aaliyah, cool. I think she has potential, but she's not going to be the best from that year. Leo Rush, that's my guy. Leo Rush is exciting. Even though he's a little small guy that bounces around, he's like another Ricochet. He's still it's fun to watch. Extremely, and out of that group of people, it's fun to watch. 95, Toni Storm, Chris Statlander, Ty Conti. I went Ty Conti. I don't know. At this point, I'm just picking Toni Storm. To me, with Toni Storm, I think she's got a ceiling. I think because she had kind of a run in WWE and it never fully got over. And I get booking and shit like that. But even going into AEW, I don't see the mainstream push for her. People were excited for the big surprise, but who cares? She is what she is. She's kind of hit her ceiling. Chris Statlander, gonna have to find some personality. She's gonna have to be able to talk on a microphone a little better. Can't be an alien your whole life. And like I said, then I went with Ty Conti. I feel like the potential is there if she pulls it all together.
Interesting.
96. Mm-hmm. Man, you talk about, 96 is a beast of a fucking year.
Uh-huh.
Because these are some young kids that are fucking made. Rhea Ripley and MJF.
Dang.
And that's rough because those are both those are
pretty good, bro.
Those are the future of pro wrestling. Those are the names that will carry it as the torch gets passed. As we lose the Roman Reigns and the Seth Rollins and the Drew McIntyres, those are going to be the names that kind of pick it up and carry it forward. And so I went MJF. I think there's no question. It's MJF. I think MJF is a generational talent, and the fact that he's so fucking young is insane to me. To kind of have it all put together. What is AEW doing? Put the fucking strap on this guy. Mm-hmm. Put the fucking belt on MJF and let him run with that motherfucker. 97, Theory, Braun Breaker, Darby Allin, and Dominic Mysterio. It's Theory. It's got to be Theory, right?
Aren't they right?
It's not. Braun Breaker's on his way. Probably going to be a big deal. Fuck Darby Allin. And Dominic Mysterio is a mess. Mm-hmm. Then the last 2 years, 1998, Daniel Garcia did not realize he was this young. That's pretty cool.
I didn't either.
He's in the Jericho Appreciation Society. As Jay said, he was allowed in the building while everybody else wasn't.
Okay.
And then 99 is Hook. That's crazy. 1999, Hook is there, and he's seems to be a big deal in professional wrestling. Lauren, just for fun, I wanted to do wrestlers you didn't realize that were old as fuck.
Okay.
So just for fun here,
okay.
Kofi Kingston. Did you know Kofi Kingston was 40 years old?
No. Am I doing guess my age?
No, it's not guess my age. I'm just going to tell you. But that, how athletic is that guy?
I thought he was like in his 30s, bro.
That's what I would have said. I would have said he was maybe just slightly older than Big E.
Yeah, like 36, I think.
But fuck, he's that, impressive for that age.
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura, 42 years old.
I knew he was older. I just didn't know how old.
42 though. That's what I said. So when I talked about, I didn't want to spoil it, but when I talked about him earlier, what's left for him to do in WWE?
Nothing.
It's time for him to go to AEW. It's time. That's where he'll flourish. Mm-hmm. He's an AEW guy. Mm-hmm. Asuka, 40 years old.
Shut the.
That's crazy, right?
Hell yeah.
That's crazy.
I thought she was in her 20s, like all the rest of the girls.
I thought maybe 28, 29, 30.
Damn.
That shows how far off I am on knowing these things.
I had no idea.
But 40 years old. The Miz, 41. Feel like that's
a pretty
yeah. I could have guessed that. Randy Orton, 42. That seems right in line. But he's an older.
He just had a celebration.
Sheamus, 44.
I mean, I knew he was older, but I
this makes me feel really bad about myself. That I need to get in shape. I need to go to the gym. I need to Bobby Lashley, 45 years old. That man, that's impressive. It's impressive that he is basically the number one baby face on Monday Night Raw, and he's 45 years old. And the thing we keep saying about him is he's getting better. Yeah. Oh man, he's getting better. He's getting better on a microphone. He's getting better in the ring. At 45, he's doing the damn thing, right? It's hard to hate on him for that. And then last but not least, the fucking thing that blew my mind, R-Truth is 50 years old.
That's crazy.
And I'm fucking out here calling for him to win titles and shit. And I still think he's got shit left in the tank. But then you start going man, he's just maybe old and brittle. But he's had some of my favorite moments in pro wrestling and the little Jimmy stuff and some of that's it's crazy. 50 years old and still doing it at that level. That is
super crazy.
And still an integral, the 24/7 belt is a pretty integral part of Monday Night Raw right now, whether you like it or love it, whether it makes any fucking sense to you, because I'm having a hard time following what the hell's going on.
I have no idea.
All right, guys, we will be updating the CWC pay-per-view contest on our website as soon as that card gets fleshed out. It looks like there's 4 or 5 matches that are kind of solid, but hopefully this week we get the final and we can put that up so people can start voting.
Yeah.
The 5 people who were tied from WrestleMania will go into Backlash, I've decided, with a champion's advantage of 0.5 points. And what that does is if they tie with anybody who wasn't, they get the win.
All right.
So 0.5 is not enough. It's not enough to they can't just get one match completely wrong and still that'll just create more fucking ties. But a 0.5 advantage is enough that will break any tiebreaker that they get into. I'm thinking, Lauren, next week we'll do a documentary watch along on Tuesday, episode 2 of WWE Evil, which I believe is the Miz's episode. That should be fun. Yeah. We'll be a little more invested in that one because we know a little bit more about the Miz. The CWC 2K Universe will be holding its opening tournament for the CWC World title. So I'll be filming those matches and those will go up on YouTube and we'll let everybody know kind of how to watch those.
Okay.
So this week, then this is your chance to get your last minute submissions in if you want to be in that tournament. You got anything else, Lauren?
No, that's it, bro.
Did we lose a camera?
Yeah, one went out. It's okay.
I guess it can't hang this long.
All right.
This has been another episode of the CWC Wrestling Podcast. Make sure to tune in every week and make sure to submit your choices when we get that WrestleMania Pick'em contest up. As always, I am the Notorious Nerdy D. That is Level Up Lauren, and go ahead and ring that final bell.
Ding ding ding.